Hey guys, Father Time, also known as Jeff Richard, retired American Airlines captain, 36 years with American, 7 years in the Air Force.
Starting.
Retired on the 777 back in September of 2023. Today is a very special day, and we are up in Christchurch, New Zealand Tower, overlooking the airport, and what is a very rainy day. We're going to fly down to Queenstown, New Zealand, into mountainous terrain, and an RNAV arrival on the TFDi MD-11. Today, as I mentioned, is July 2nd. It's around noontime on the East Coast, United States, around 1600 Z. And any moment or tomorrow or whatever, the TFDi MD-11 is going to come out and be released. It is a wonderful airplane. I know you guys are going to enjoy it. Microsoft Flight Simulator has been long overdue for a long-haul aircraft, and a long-haul cargo aircraft is what this one is, as well as passenger version, although there aren't any more passenger versions flying. We're in TFDi colors. There's many liveries available on the TFDi website under downloads. We are going to take this cold, dark airplane, fly over. We want to take a look at the terminal. I bought the Christchurch terminal. Little ticket counter action. Don't be weird, Captain. This
Passengers boarding starting.
Pretty cool, huh? Christchurch, New Zealand. Yeah, it's a real beautiful arrival. I've done it in Mad Dog, Airbus A300 by Any Builds, 787 by Horizon, and of course this one when I was under the non-disclosure and making videos for the fellas. What is this guy doing? Easy, big fella. All right. Anyway, you get the idea. Well, we're boarding. We're boarding right now. We're going to come in, say hello to the people a little bit as they do their Harry Potter walks through the cabin. And let's go out. We'll park up here. Enough of that nonsense. Let's get us cold dark, do our 37-minute flight down to Christchurch. This will be all time stamped, guys. So if you want to jump ahead, you can. My purpose of this one is to demonstrate the effectiveness of the profile mode, which is VNAV and the Boeings. And let's go on in, cold dark airplane, and get on. It's going to, like I said, 37-minute flight that's probably going to take us 2 hours to knock out. Soup to nuts. Mustafa, who's a guy that I really admire, who got me through the Mad Dog program with his great videos, has made up a tutorial service that it is a service, tutorial series, an advanced series that breaks down the systems by 20-minute intervals, takeoff, landing, everything in little 20-minute things. I'm going to do everything in full mission mode. Everything you needed to know will be in there, but I would suggest if you have the need to maybe have shorter things, little series. Sorry, I'm checking the bottles. There's 3 of them, by the way. 1, 2 back there. 3 checking the pressure. Go on over there. I like the guy. Go join his Discord. Here's pressure breathing equipment to fight a fire, spare pins, flashlight. I know you guys don't really need to check this. I'm just showing you. We would have checked on the MD-11 as a real crew. Here are the circuit breakers. The way we check circuit breakers, by the way, for you sim enthusiasts, we actually would get off to the side and we check it that way, because then you can see anything popped out. You can see it a lot better, and it's painted white underneath. But there we are, cold dark. I proved that to you. We're going to come down in here, and we're going to make sure there's no maintenance items being done. We check the logbook, electronic and paper. Make sure there's no placards here or anything that would prevent us from putting power on the aircraft. We want to make sure the radar is off, which is right there. Fuel control switches are cut off. Engine start selectors are cut off. Throttle's right off. Thrust reverser's down. Spoiler handles down. Flaps are up. Gear handles down. And we check the windshield wipers right there and there are in off. Fuel dump switch and fuel dump manifold switches are off. And at that point we can come in, turn on the battery. I'll give you a little better overview of that one. It's pretty dark in here. It's a dark day, guys. I'm going to have to get some lights on here. Turn on the battery, and because it says avail on the external power, That means that it's 400 hertz and 115 volts. You don't have to check it anywhere. Just turn it on. The CRTs, the 6 identical CRTs, usually take about a minute or so to come up to speed. TFDi, in the interest of saving time, just had them come up in about 10 seconds. But they did have them fading in, which is nice. Let's go ahead and when I turn on the IRSs, the cargo fire is going to test. 1, 2, 3, and you can look down and see the master warning and the cargo fire lights, and that test is over. And we're going to come down here, and I'm going to initialize the box. MD-11 CS6-80. I have 21,000 hours, 11,000 are in this. I flew these on the A300-600, MD-11, and 76300. Great engines. The date today, as I mentioned, is July 2nd, right in the middle. Flight plan init. There we go. And align the IRSs. And forget out the box for just a minute. We just want to make sure we get that before we align. So one guy would go outside and do the walk around, come on in and do the interior inspection. The other guy would usually load the box. I'm going to show you the checklist. And the reason I want to show you this is because they're under construction right now. This is a beta version. I made all these checklists up. They're working on them now, and they should be released with the aircraft hopefully today on the TFDi website. But if you want them, I'll be posting my versions on the my Discord channel after release, after I'm out from under the non-disclosure agreement. I'll have to post mine and put my name on it. But these are my versions, and it has some of the things we'll be talking about today. This is all being done. Pre-flight's being done by memory. Normal procedures, what we would have used as a crew. This is modeled after a couple of different airlines, including mine, American Airlines. The things we would have coordinated together in challenge response, before starting engines, going through each item to make sure that we got everything that was on the pre-flight. And we check the FMS. FMS checklist, everything I'm going to do today is on here, include a holding. We'll try to do a little holding on our way in. A lot of good information on that checklist. Emergency procedures, these are the items you would do. Quick reaction checklist. And before you get into the QRH, which is the more expanded version, you knock out these items. Some of them used to be memory. I wouldn't advise doing that right now. You can just pull out this card, which would have been sitting by your seat. And I do have a kind of a cool thing here. This is a interactive systems display, interactive cockpit. Let's say you want to look at the glacier control panel. Click on there. A lot of them are my own panels. Some of them are taken from a MD-11 pilot's website that's no longer, it was a public website that's no longer maintained, but it is accurate. So you can go through and check the systems. Whether or not I show this really depends on how many items just go to home here, how well they do getting out you get the idea, right? The systems manuals and everything. I also have some training manuals and some maneuvers manuals that I've made up, but I'm probably going to defer to the TFDi version when we get going as soon as it comes out, because it should be, as I mentioned, they're based on this anyway. Should be good. I'm going to turn up the monitors. Pretty dark here, so I'm going to turn up the flight guidance panel lighting. There's really 4 places you turn them on.
This way, please.
Go to the overhead. 2 right here. These 2. There's 2 switches on each. I have a hyper scroll mouse by Razer. And there you go. And then the last ones are, if you go down to the throttle quadrant, way down below.
Hello?
These are the CRTs, the 6 CRTs. The PFD, the ND,
May I see your boarding pass?
EAD, systems display, and of course the FOs, ND, FOs, PRD. And this whole panel here is the systems display control panel. I went over this in my first 2 videos, but I'm going to give you kind of a soup to nuts, cold dark to cold dark,
Good morning.
as we go through things. The lighting's a little less than I would hope right now.
May I see your boarding pass?
I'm not sure that's as bright as it should be right now. I'll have to look at that.
Boarding pass, please.
All right, so it still just could be coming up to speed too. All right, with that out of the way, let's go to the overhead. I'm going to run the overhead, as I mentioned. It's going to be using the this format that I have, this flow.
Good morning.
That will be coming out. And you see that I've highlighted it in blue. 3 columns, really a 4th column up here. And then across the glacier control panel, across the CRTs, then down the middle using a kind of a crisscross type of a pattern. Then we'll come together to do the normals before we get underway. I'm not going to be using any ATC today. It'll all just be you and I on our way. All right, so let's go to the overhead. We'll go all the way up on the overhead, all the way up.
Welcome on board.
These are the fire handles. They're in the normal position. If you wanted to pull them, you pull them all the way down and twist them to fire a bottle for Agent 1. Agent 2, after 1 minute, if the fire doesn't go out, you twist it and fire the other one. That's how that works. I didn't mean to do that, guys. Woohoo. Almost did that little wild mouse manners. All right, so here's our cargo fire that tested. We turn on the IRSs, 10 minutes to align. If we take a look, the voice recorder circuit breaker is going to go in the green when we push it.
Welcome on board.
You test it into the green band. It's good. Generator faults, reset lights, no lights are on. If there's puppies, you put them in high. 12 o'clock if you're carrying live animals, otherwise low is fine. And galley bus powers, you see one of these off, it's because it was probably shed due to load. Now with these people getting on, before I get any further, I should test the fire. Light comes on. Engine 1, 2, 3 fire and APU fire. Fire warning light. And lastly,
Engine 2 fire.
there, listen to the things.
Engine 3 fire.
And then push the master warning. Got a good fire test. Now you're clear to start the APU. I would start here. You can start one of two places. There, start, stop. I would use the APU power. That way when you shut down engines, when you start engines, it'll automatically do some things for you. It's got some safety built in. I wouldn't bother doing it on the start, stop. I would do it here. It's going to take a little while to start on up. So that's starting up. We'll continue on our first column. Engine ignition. This is FADEC. Think of this as the EEC, like on the Boeings. It controls all the N1s and make sure you don't get any overboost or overheats. Engine ignition, that's A, B. We usually go odd, even flights or captain FO legs. Override is both of them. Put that on maybe in a severe turbulence or as part of a engine start procedure for dual engine flameout. This is the hydraulic panel up here. Aux hydraulic pump you can turn on in one of two places. You can turn it on here or down here is the most common because we're going to put that on for pushback. We'll use that one. And hydraulic pressure test, you can turn it on and forget about it. If you really want to watch it, you can go down to the system display control panel. You can toggle up the hydraulics and watch the systems, the valves open and close, aux hydraulic pump come on, and it will test itself. Okay, so that's hydraulic panel, emergency light switch, turn that on. It's armed. The turn on, once you get external power, they're going to come a knocking, trying to get that external power off if you're going to start the APU. So I'm going to take off the external power so just in case they get frustrated and pull it, I'll turn on the APU bleed. We don't get a power interruption to the cabin. And once I do that, I'll come with the services and disconnect the GPU. I'm going to remove the chocks and set the parking brake. Sounds like everyone is already boarded. With
This
that, I'm
parking
going to...
is too small for your aircraft.
I know. Story of my life.
Due to icing conditions, please stand by for engine start until push is completed with brakes.
All right, so electrical system's not in manual, it's in auto. You've got think about it, this is the firefighting. I think of poor Swissair 111 with the fire. They might have been trying to run this checklist.
Hello,
Very long
we are
checklist.
ready for pushback.
Because when you isolate a bus, you got to wait a few minutes to see if that's where the smoke came from. Most common cause of smoke, of course, on an aircraft are the gasper fans or the ovens. So that's actually where I would start. Turning off all the galley power is where I would start. Generator drive, the integrated drive generators they would trip off for high oil temperature or low oil pressure. Once they're disconnected in flight, you have to wait for maintenance to connect them on the ground. Cabin bus light is out. Pack slow, there's two ways to decrease the bleed or increase the bleed flow. One is econ. So if you turned up, you wanted high fresh air. Think of this as taking off the recirc on your car and going with fresh air. You would turn off the econ, and instead of recycling air, it would take in all fresh air and clear out the cabin smoke if you had. I used to do it a lot when people smoked in the aircraft. 1% fuel burn if you fly with that off, though. Passenger load, what do we have on here? 240 plus 8 flight attendants, we'll say 240. By the way, this is not a flight you would fly. I think our effective landing distance down there is like 5,200 feet. Most airlines we didn't go. Let's just say that was a passenger load with flight attendants into under 7,000. This big airplane. I'll come back to the GSX here in a minute. Okay, and here we go. Everything's good. Bleed air is here. There's APU bleed. Trim air is here. If you let's go talk about the air while we're on it. Go to air system. We'll zoom on in. Come on down. Sorry about that, guys. It's kind of obnoxious, huh? All right, this is the temperature coming into the cabin up here. There's your PAX number. The white numbers are what the cabin temperature is, and the blue is what you're asking for. So that you can see we asked for 24, it's at 18, so it's trying to get the temperature up a little bit. That's cargo temps. This is a bleed air engine coming off the pack, the temperature coming off the packs. This is the bleed air pressure. You can see, take a look at this. Remember this, at 34, 35. When we start, you have to have at least 25 for start. You'll see this come down. TFDi has modeled that. Here's your outflow valve open. You have to check that, and your landing altitude is 0 at Queenstown. That's not in there yet because we actually haven't put in the flight plan yet. Let's show you that. I'll put in the flight plan. Let's go to electronic flight flag, dispatch, import flight plan, set, there we go, Christchurch to Queenstown. Put that bad boy in and set the load. And now you can see the landing elevation is 1171. So it's updated that. Thought I'd show you that. We'll come back to the system display control panel in just a minute. So that's the pressurization. That's the air conditioning. Here's when I press this, I'm going to get 18880, and then to go to 10.5, and then we'll get 52.4. So let's get the fuel ready to go down here. We'll talk about the fuel system, which I've already done many times for you guys, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to press it, 1888, then it goes to 10.5 in all 5 displays. And if you come down, you'll see that the fuel is 52. You really can't see that very well, can you? Is 52.4. The only time it would be anything but 52.4 is if it was broken, or if you were in one of the extended range birds. There was only 5 of them ever built, but it's going to be an option on the MD-11 here. If you have extended range selected on the EFB, you'll get 63 here instead of 52.4. I learned that from Mustafa, who, as I mentioned, did all those training films. I'd recommend going and grab those. Tell him I sent you. All right, he's a good guy. That's fuel. Oh, and the other thing is fuel. The way they fuel it is evenly across the 3 mains. You can see the center is larger, so that when the left and right main are full, they're coming up even. They'll fill up the center, then the upper aux, lower aux, then finally the tail tank. Purpose of the tail tank is to send fuel back and forth for CG purposes, for the most economical CG, and also for keep the fuel from freezing on long haul flights. If you get within 3 degrees of freezing, but extended time, let's say at high altitude, it'll start cycling the fuel back and forth to keep it from freezing up. It'll at 19,750, it'll send it all forward. At TFDi, I think they made it so that we'll send it all forward immediately. Before top of descent. Anyway, that's a little bit about that fuel system. That's enough fuel facts for you. Dump manifold, I think it's 5,600 pounds per minute dump. So if you wanted to dump 100,000, it'd be about 18 minutes. Fuel dump system is going to dump down to max landing weight unless you tell it otherwise. Go to page 3 here. You can tell it otherwise by putting the dump 2 fuel on here. But it's otherwise going to go to max landing weight. 5,600 pounds per minute. Pretty sure that's what it is. Been a while since I studied that. Over here on the lighting panel, emergency lights are on. You can test it if you want. It's a dome light to light up overhead. You use that at night to stay awake, really. Thunderstorm, if you're going to go into a dark thunderstorm and you want all the lights, every light in the cockpit to go full bright, you put the thunderstorm lights to on, and every cockpit light goes to full bright, so you have good visibility when you go through the weather, God forbid. Coming across here, no smoking sign is on. Seatbelt sign, well, we'll get that on. We're going to be pushing back here. Now we still got to load the box. These lights are off. You should have the nav lights on anytime you have power on. So you got 3 out, 3 on, even though these say off. Right there, those lights are illuminated, 3 lights on. That's what it should look like. Cabin call reset. They call the appropriate light will come on there. All the way up here for the 4th column, we check the engine fire evac switch. If you want to turn it on, you can lift the cover, move it on, and it'll start beeping in the back. That was not what I want to do. But we'll leave it armed with the cover down. And to silence the horn, but leave the vac single going in the back, you pull on the horn switch here so you can hear yourself think in the cockpit while you run the appropriate checklist. FSiPanel houses a bunch of things. The flap limiter, the elevator feel. Elevator feel is as you go faster, it doesn't let you move the yoke as much so you don't overg the aircraft. Yaw damper for Dutch roll to dampen that out. And LSAS is a system they put on when they stretched the DC-10, so the MD-11 fuselage, it needed a longitudinal stability, and it's what the MD-11 is famous for. It's why people say it feels funky to fly. It's a little stiff in the pitch axis. It almost seems like you don't have complete control of the airplane fighting you a little bit. That was my impression. They do have a roll control wheel steering on the EFB if you wanted to activate it. I'm not going to do that. We didn't have that. Aileron deflect, if you have well, I'll show you that when you get to the EFB. This switch would be there if you had that system installed. We checked we want to go make sure we're not in manual there and that the overflow valve is full open. We did that before. Engine anti-ice, after you start each engine, let's say you started, the start sequence is 3, 1, and 2. If you started 3 after it was fully started and you were 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which we're not. Oh yeah, we are. We're +6. You would, forgot we're in New Zealand. It's cold. You would put that on after engine start if you 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, visible moisture, or the runways and taxiways had slush, snow, ice on them. Wing you don't put off unless you are in the air above 1,000 feet and you see some moisture building up, probably on the vertical stanchion there. Windshield anti-ice, we turn on the windshield anti-ice and we leave the defog on at all times. Don't turn it off. Turn that on here, turn it off after engine shutdown, windshield anti-ice. Annunciators, I'm going to press this, check every, that's dim or bright, we'll leave it in bright, and we'll check every light in the cockpit. And look around, see if you can find any, it takes a little while. My point though is if you found one, you'd call maintenance. Don't try to replace them yourself with a spare bulb kit. It's easy to break them. I've done it. Cargo door test, you run that, let it run its thing. Fuel used, you reset it every flight. Engine max pointer, before you use engine max pointer, you come down here, system display control panel, select the engine, make sure there's no exceedances, red boxes on either side. If you're satisfied, or write-ups in the book, of course, if you're satisfied with that, you can reset the max pointers. Back up to the other column here, GPWS, APU fire agent, I guess that's page 3. I never even noticed that one before. Terrain override. If you're in VMC conditions, not IMC, VMC conditions, and you're getting terrain, you're looking, saying, I'm over the ocean, there's the runway. You've got probably a GPS, a inertial issue. You can go to override. But IMC conditions, you never do that. Execute the escape maneuvers if you have to. Speaking of which, GPWS has 6 modes. They've been modeled here, I think 5 of them in the MD-11, a guy named Fabio Almeida, one of our developers, spent a lot of time doing it. I'll let you listen to it. But I have a whole presentation I'll do on that I did before. You could actually follow through and see which one was missing.
Pull up.
Aileron deflect override switch, no light. Ditching switch. Think of this as the Sullenberger switch. If you're going in the river, push this and it closes the holes in the airplane. Outflow valve, overboard exhaust valve. I think they just had room here, so they put a cabin schedule there.
Too low, flaps.
Let this finish up.
Terrain. Glide slope. Too low, terrain. Caution, terrain.
Terrain, pull up.
Caution, terrain. Terrain, pull up.
I don't want to hear that one.
Pull up. Glide slope. Pull up.
All right.
Terrain. Pull
it's long.
Up. Pull up. Sink rate.
Maybe because I didn't put it back to normal.
Terrain. Pull up.
Okay, coming across the top.
Sink.
Let's take a look at the departure.
Don't sink.
And we'll brief the
Too low, terrain.
where we are.
Too low, gear.
All right, guys.
Too
so
low,
we are in
Too low, terrain.
Christchurch.
Glide slope. Too low,
Taxi.
terrain. Caution, terrain.
And we're right here.
Caution, terrain.
We're going to push back nose to the northeast
Pull up.
and take off on 20.
Pull up.
Sorry about that. I left that switch in for too long. Out this way, guys. Push back. Taking off on 20. Plenty of runway here. And our SID that we filed on is the ATSAT 1 Quebec to Guppet. So ATSAT 1 Quebec to Guppet. SID. There it is. ATSAT 1 Quebec. Oh, we start at the top. Transition altitude is 13 coming down. The transition level is 14. All right. Departure, transition to departure not authorized. So you got a minimum Category C aircraft, speed restrictions, max 220 up to 6,000. So 220 till 6. And then it's direct ATSAT on over to Christchurch. And you see that's the route. And this is the mountainous terrain in here. Doesn't have an initial climb altitude. We're going to Guppet right down there. We'll talk about the rest later, so we don't know what goes in the window. We'll put in, I think we can pretty much pick what we want, can't we? We'll put in 10,000 feet. That's good. And runway heading. While we're here, it's time to set up this anyway. There we go. Runway heading is 196, transition altitude is 13. So runway heading is 196. I'm using my Logitech panel. I'm sure you guys by now have watched some of my videos or other people's videos. 196, 10,000, leave 250 in there. It's time to do the glare shield control panel, so why don't we talk about that? This whole thing is the glare shield control panel. This middle section right here is the flight control panel. This is the EIS for the captain, EIS for the FO. Only thing you're really required to check in the origination pre-flight is indicated airspeed, not Mach, heading, not track, feet, not meters, and vertical speed, not flight path angle. You set the departure altitude in here. You set the runway heading in here. And 250 is what you set in here, not V2. And you make sure the AFS override switches are off. If something's happening, you can't get the thing to automation to stop, throw these switches down, disconnect all the magic. You get yourself a nice manual airplane. Manipulating the panel with you just twist here. You have to do it with the mouse, right? You take this and you go with the mouse, twisting around. Said we'll leave 10,000 in there. If you want to, this is a push-pull. I guess the Airbuses are like that. If you want to push, it holds what you have here. So push here, it holds what the current airspeed. Push up, you hover until you get the up arrow, then click, and it will hold a heading hold. Here is altitude hold. That is flight level change. This is heading select, and this is whatever speed's in the window. All right, so it's airspeed hold, whatever your present airspeed, speed in the window. Heading, current heading hold, heading select, whatever speed you twist into the window, it'll follow it. Otherwise, this is heading hold. This is altitude hold. If they say, hey, TFDi, hold right there, stop your climb. You go like this, and it holds your current altitude. This is flight level change as you know it. Over here, Barrow, we're going to use HP. We're going to come to 1013, set 3 times. It's actually 1018. It's a current altimeter, but that's how you change it. You got to, if you want to get to standard, it says pull, but here you just click on it. See it? Click on it. That's how you get to standard. Map mode, we'll go take off of map mode, traffic and data. Leave that here. Some guys put on airports. That's what we usually put. Map mode and plan. If you go to plan, watch down here, it goes to true north. Like that. And when you do your flight plan, you can walk through that way. So we'll leave that there while we check our flight plan. Ranger increase or decrease here. If you go to approach mode, if you're one of those guys that wants a round dial down there, don't know why you do that. Same thing with VOR. And the frequencies you would put in, the way you put them in, It would auto-tune usually, or you could type them in manually here. Manually or remotely. It's good. So that's the glare shield control panel. It's the flight control panel, EISs, glare shield control panels, the whole shabam. Down here you got transfer switches on. If the procedure calls, let's say you got errant information. I'm going to put this back on map mode. You get errant information here. You want to use the FOs or the alternate. You push on this button here. So if the flight directors you think are faulty, go ahead and push it. You'll get the other side. That's the EIS source. Remember, this is the EIS up here. You could use the FO side if you wanted, or there's actually an aux for control this panel if you don't like the way it's working. Check your oxygen, press here, get a flow light. Check your mic by pressing the mic switch, either on your yoke or down here. See the microphone? Right there. Okay, come across the PFD, no unwanted flags. You can set radio altimeter. You could do that, or you could go to Barrow there. I like looking up like this, like I'm a very small person. Radio altimeter, we just leave radio, usually put our engine out there. Nav display, it's a little dark, I know that, guys. I'm not sure the lighting on here is working really well. And we're coming across here, weather is off. To test the weather radar, you gotta go right down here, push this on, and the weather radar you can turn on and off down here, and there's a test function on the weather radar right there. And right now it's not modeled. Oh, it says the weather is on, weather radar is on. It's really not modeled. Coming across, this is the EAD, this is the SD. These are 6 identical CRTs. These are 3 identical MCDU. That's as far as the hardware goes. Captain's PFD, Captain's ND, engine alert display system with all the messages and number 1 engine instruments, number 2 engine instruments, system display control panel, whatever you have selected here. If you go to status, it gives you all the open write-ups at that moment. You know, it is just a little too dark in here, and I am having trouble. I don't think we're going to get a real good quality video unless I brighten it up. It's kind of a dark day. You know, let's just go to live weather. That's better, because we can't do a video with it that dark, guys. Come down the middle, center gear. If you, for whatever reason, I never did it, you didn't want the center gear to come up, but the checklist called for it, you'd press this and override it. It's the gear handle. If you want to override the gear handle, it won't come up, and you really need to get it up for drag, press and hold that switch. That'll do it. Here's the gear speeds there. Come down in the middle, anti-skid. You want to make sure the light is out. Here's your parking brake, your brake pressure overall. Auto brakes to TO. If you want to go to the throttle quadrant here, there's your manual trim. Push it up, it's nose down. Pull it, it's nose down, up. Parking brakes here. Parking brake lights there. Spoiler lever. You arm it just by pulling up on it, like that. And disarm it by pushing down on it. This is a breakout bar. It's called overboost breakout bar. You want to make sure it's towards you, not full forward. That would mean somebody jammed the throttles forward. Why would you do that? Let's say you were climbing out, dual engine failure, heavy weight, and it's like, oh my goodness, and you jam it forward. If I saw it pushed forward, you got other problems. Usually it's somebody's been in the cockpit playing around. Thrust reversers are down, throttles are idle. Here's your go-round switch for go-round. But for takeoff, you arm the auto flight. Look at the rain coming. You arm the auto flight when you get above 70%. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I know this is redundant, guys, or repetitive. That's the key to learning. I've done this on my other videos. We'll do it again. As I mentioned, this will be time-stamped, so feel free to jump around. But I'm an instructor by nature. I'm in the Air Force training, and so I'm going to go through things all the way through. I'm not going to break it down into little lessons for you. I'm going to take it like a real flight and go through it, and it's up to you to go through and where you want. I understand the little lessons get more views, but I'm not in it for views. I'm kind of in it to teach, to be honest with you, mentor. No money here. You don't get any money. So the flap lever is up. Really, I think the most effective way is to go through and do it real time.
Stabilizer.
When you hear stabilizer again, it's done.
Flap.
It's telling you what it checks.
Flat. Brakes. Stabilizer.
And then do 2 and 3 together. No requirement to do them one at a time.
Stabilizer. Flap. Flat. Brakes.
Real good. Let's take a look at the throttle quadrant here again. And the lever, you can see that the first detent is slats extend. This is a unique to McDonnell Douglas airplane dial-a-flap. It's your second one. Whatever you click second goes to anywhere in the range. I forget what it is. You see it right there. It's 8 to 22, I think it is, or 10 to 22. We're going to take off of flaps 15, set that in here. So the second click will give you, first click is slats extend. You see your slats come out over here with an arrow. Once the arrow goes, they're down, they're extended. If you want, you could follow along on the config page. Totally up to you. The second click gives you whatever's in dial-a-flap. Third click gives you flaps 28. And the fourth click gives you flaps 35. And then finally, flaps 50. And I'm going to set 15 in here. That's what we're going to use. If you want to silence your gear horn, you press down here. The start selectors are in. We'll talk about that ad nauseum. The fuel control switches are cut off. Systems display control panel. If you see a light, there's something written up there. See that engine? Usually that light would be on. I already pushed it though. And whatever you push comes on there. Go to status page, gives you anything that's open at the moment. It says just ignition. Is your number 1 radio, VHF number 2 radio, and is VHF number 3 with the 8 cars in the window. I am very dissatisfied with the lighting, guys. I wonder, and I really can't do much about it. Kind of got everything on there. Lights are all the way up. Yeah, it's much darker than normal. Are we really in that dark of a situation? It's almost a night flight, isn't it? And I think I do have the daytime in. That's about the best I'm going to do without changing the weather. You know, I don't know. Live weather. Here we go. It just doesn't want to stay bright in here, does it? I'm not sure this is going to be a publishable video, but we shall see. It seems to be making up its mind. That's a little better. Radios, you know how to dial it in here. It's going through some sort of gyration out there, the lighting. 0 on the aileron trim, rudder trim is 0, and you double check the yoke here. After landing, we do leave our trim at 3 degrees nose up for a couple of reasons. And correct me if I'm wrong, Freaky D, but we leave it 3 degrees nose up normally. And the reason we do that is for moisture, so it will roll off the tail like snow or ice will roll off the tail. But also there's a mark on the tail, which is not modeled here, which I probably need to tell them to model it. And you would check that when you did the walk around that the horizontal stabilizer was on that mark. There'll be one mark for 0, another mark for 3 degrees nose up, down 3 degrees nose up, and that would tell you that it was calibrated properly. But normally we leave it 3 degrees so that we have good water runoff or moisture runoff off the tail. Okay, that's the Origination Preflight. We'll talk a little bit about the radio. If you're going to fly that sim, yes, we have full CPDLC. You can do pre-flight data, departure clearance, oceanic clearance, company messages. If you're on VATSIM or IVAO, the only thing you'd want to do is when you go to the options here, which we'll talk about, you want to make sure you put your HOPI code in there before you do it. So it's a good time while we're here, before we get to loading the box, we'll talk about the excellent electronic flight bag. Under options, there's 4 categories. General, you can see it's self-explanatory: Celsius, Imperial, hardware, Iris line times realistic, ManPad. Yes, it's a missile defense system. SimBrief, you put that in here, otherwise you can't get your dispatch. SimBrief username, HOPI code if you want to use your ACARS CPDLC down there. Pause at top of descent. So if you're falling asleep or going to have dinner, you want it not to descend. It'll pause and freeze at top of descent. It's pretty cool. Then when you come back, it says unpause over here. You click on that and off you go. That's general systems. Choose your whatever you want. You can check tape display. If you do that, you get tapes over here. We're not doing that because I haven't saved it yet. We're going to round dial. Single queue, if you're more of a batwing guys versus the crosshairs, you can enable single queue. I have inhibit tire failure. I have it disabled. I want to know if I'm over braking. Radio altitude show and brakes. You save it down here. Caution and warning system, as I mentioned, the GPWS and caution and warning system is fully integrated. I've enabled all the altitude callouts and that performance just to set your things. So here's the high efficiency flat pylon. I've got it disabled, and then deflected ailerons, I have it disabled. This switch on the overhead, I don't believe would be there if you were truly did not have that system. You know, hang on, this is not going to work. It's a Microsoft Flight Simulator thing. No matter what I do, and you know what it might have something to do with, guys? I have active sky here. Let me turn that off. There we go. Now we'll try live weather. I think active sky was overriding it. That's it. Mystery solved. I also have FS Realistic. I'm not going to run that. I have active sky. I'm just going to run it pure. That's what it was. Could not understand why I wasn't able to get rid of the rain so we could see a little bit better in here. Anyway, EFB. Options are disabled. So we get dispatch. You saw that. Set FMC. They set the payload. Payload, you could check that if you wanted. I'm not going to manipulate that. There's your performance. We're going to go on runway 20. 20, slope -3, length. Say you've got an intersection takeoff. You want to say, can we do it? You could put in here 8,000 feet. We'll do that for kicks and grins. So say, can you take Tango? You usually have a piece of paper that tells you, but you can actually change your runway length there. And then over here, takeoff weight, get to takeoff weight. Flex anti-ice none. Flaps, we'll go specific 15. And then packs are on. I don't know why they assume off, but McDonnell Douglas did. And with that, you can click calculate, give it a few seconds, and you'll get your numbers. 34, 41, 58, and 59. All right, so more on the box. That's your charts. You got a Navigraph, sign in. You can either sign in by visiting the website, or you can take your phone and just like you do at a restaurant, I don't really have to tell you young guys this, but as old guys, you know, you just go like this. Navigraph, yes, please. Let it go through its gyrations. Sign in. Yes, please. TFDi would like to do this. Yes. Allow. And we're in. And when we're in, then you can put in KGFK, KGFK, NZCH, and do what you want. Just thinking about it. Services. You can open and close doors here. GPU is auxiliary start unit for a start cart. If you want to change the start, I'm going to leave cold dark as my default. So that's options also. We did all those. So we're done with the EFB. We'll do the box real quick. We're going to go to, first thing we do, of course, is go flight plan. We're going to come up here. We're going to do SID, put the runway in first. 20, ADSAT 1 Quebec. Guppet transition. And insert it. And all the way down, you see it's ADSAT 1 Quebec. Does not put in the stars or the SIDs. And you want to put in the runway first. Captain Happy Hands. Star. RNAV, runway 5, Foxtrot, Golf. I think it's Zulu. We'll do RNAV 5 Zulu. Put in 2317 for now. I'm not sure that's good enough. We'll have to check it out. And then LRUV 3 Alpha. No transition. And insert it. And now we can come back in here and select the transition when it happens and insert it. So we'll check the flight plan. There it is. We'll check all this. And you might have to watch that a couple of times to figure out how to do that. Wait till you see this arrival. Let me show you what you have to look forward to so you don't tune out. It's and the reason, this is the reason I'm doing this approach, this flight. Look at that. We're coming in up here. A Babu transition for the RNAV. Arcing approach through the mountains. No real speed restrictions. And then you come in on final left turn, then a right turn to a short runway. Look at that missed approach. Arcing in a valley, back around. I did a whole engine out series here. So that's why I did it. And the other thing is, as I mentioned before, it's a short runway. It's a 5800, so you wouldn't do this, right? 58-foot runway. And then for landing, really, you're less than that as a displaced threshold. So we'll be flaps 50 max on the brakes, probably overheat the brakes, and back taxi at Queenstown. And what did we forget to do? I forgot to do the standby attitude indicator. Okay. All right, so we call for pushback. I'm going to run the checklist. Now I'm going to go to normals. MCDU is checked. IRS is checked in a line. Hydraulic panels checked. Fuel panels checked. Emergency light switch is armed. No smoking is on. Fire warnings are tested. EVAC switch is armed. AFS control panel is on. Cabin pressure controls checked in auto. That's what we'd be looking up, but we just did it, so we know we did it. Windshield anti-ice and defog normal and on. Defog light is out. Clear shift control panel set and checked. System display control panel is checked. EIS and bugs set and checked. Standby flight instruments checked. Gear handle lights down in green. Auto brake selector TO. Brakes and pressure parked in normal. Slap flap up and retracted. Breakout bar, over boost breakout bar reset. Throttles are closed. Reverse levers are down. Takeoff warning is checked. Fuel switch is off. VHF radios are set. Weather radar is set. And transponder TARA. 5 minutes prior. Seatbelt sign and status page. So you go to 5 minutes prior. Seatbelt sign. And come down here. Go status page. And you make sure there's no unwanted items. You call for clearance. Get your runway. Come in here. We talked about the data. It was 59. And the packs are on. This is correct. This is actually, the box assumes packs off. It's very weird. It's not a bug. I thought it was. But the manuals actually have packs off. KLM and American's manuals both packs off. Very strange. And TAT is plus 15. That's more like it. I couldn't understand why. And then 1623. So the takeoff, this is what engine out. This is engine out. This is thrust reduction. That's 1500 AFL. And we're just going to do 1623 here for acceleration. But remember, we had the 220 until 6,000 feet. We got to make sure we do that. It's a flaps 15 takeoff. And we go to the EFB and we check the performance. And it was 34, 41, 58. 34, 41, 58. And you know why it's not going in here yet? Because what didn't I do? I didn't finish picking up this thing. So NZCH, it's actually NZCH. Sorry about that, guys. Never finished doing this. And this is TFDi. TFDi 123 is what I filed. And the cruise altitude, we'll go over there at like 25. I think the flight plan was up high, ridiculously high, 34,000 feet, going west. In here, if you wanted to put in step climbs for a long haul, you'd have to put in like 34/36/38/40. and then on your page you put a /S altitude adjacent to the points you wanted to climb at. So two things you got to do. You got to put it in here, and you got to put /S and your altitude, and then you can arm it with the top altitude. That's for another day. Temperature, if you take 34 times 2, that's 68. Make it a negative. Negative 68. Add 15, that's negative 53. And then you add the temperature dev, which is -4. So 68 minus 15 is 53. Minus 4 is -57, is what the temperature is supposed to be. That's an old trick. And then the last thing is your wind component's -5, -5 right here. I'm embarrassed I didn't do that, part guys. Sorry about that. I'm sure you guys are saying, what the heck's this guy doing? Cost index is 48. Kind of why we do checklists, right? 48. My first clue was that and is our fuel, taxis 2. The fuel seems pretty low, but it is a very short flight. Our fuel, block fuel should be 31,929. That's not good. Let's try that again. Why didn't it update? $31,929. Payload set. Here it is, 31.9. Yeah, a couple of things. I'll leave it in there though. I'm gonna let you guys see me messing up. Let's see, 356.9 is zero fuel weight. 356. 9. Takeoff CG. Select it. Select it. Now, and then the third page, of course, you can put your reserve plus alternate, which if you go to your flight plan, expanded flight plan, reserve is 5.6, alternate is 10, so that's 15.6 in Christchurch. 15.6, we'll do the bugs in a minute. 15.6. I'll put that all in reserve. And then page 3 is dump. We don't need to do that. Lastly, here we go. All the bugs are now set. 34, 34, 56 is fine. And you want to make sure they're magenta. So how's this going to work? We're going to take off in profile. So what is it going to do? It's going to fly V2 right here up until cleanup altitude, which we have set at 1623. And then it's going to push it over and accelerate. And we want it just to go to 220 until 6,000. So we can go to perf, econ climb, and you could go climb forecast. Now we're not going to put the winds in there right now. Perf. We can go, how about 220 until 6,000. I don't know if this works here, guys. Let me see. Now, we'll do it manually. So instead of putting 250 here, we'll put in 220. Spinning my mouse wheel. Not my best performance here, but it's not flawless. Never is it? All right, so 10,000, 220 till 6, transitions 13, and whew, that's it. We get our clearance, and clearance with squawk 3215. We'll say there's 3 ways to turn this on. 3 things you have to do. You put the squawk in, turn on the transponder there, and spin it around the TARA. So if you're a VATS Simmer IVAO and they said no radar contact, you probably forgot to turn this little button on or go to TARA. So the transponder is set. Checklist. Clear to push, hydraulic pump, beacon, engine ignition. So there's a hydraulic pump, beacon, clear to push, GSX.
This parking is too small for your aircraft.
Continue pushback. Nose left.
Release parking brakes.
Brakes
Please.
released. Let's look outside.
Commencing push. Engines clear. Start at will.
Taxi out, right out there. Here we go. Let's go inside. Well, the way we start, you turn on any one ignition. We'll say where I'm flying, so we'll turn on A. Come down here. I love the way they have this model, guys. It's accurate. I know I've already gone over this with you a couple of times, but some of you, this will be the first one you watch. See the we're going to start number 3. It's 34. Need at least 25 after you open the start valve. Start valve's open. That's what the captain calls. Make sure you have at least 25. You can see it's dropped down to 29. That's good. Then go to engine page, because you don't want to bring up the fuel lever until you have an oil pressure rise and at least 15. So we do have an oil pressure rise and at least 15. So let's go down here. Fuel lever's coming up. And then at 45%, you'll see the ignition go off and the start valve close. Down here. 45, start valve's closed, ignition's off. You're looking for 2 on the GEs, 6-80s, 20, 406, 246, 8 the oil. See the oil gulp? It wasn't 22, now it's at 15. It was down 6 or 7 quarts. That's modeled correctly. And then 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. Only time you'd see higher is if you were at a high altitude airport like Vail or Bogota. You might see up to 17 or 1800. Okay, number 2 is started. Number 3 is started. We'll start number 1. So it goes 3, 1, 2. Get rid of these cats.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Unlocking gear.
I'll put him on flight plan. I'll be on takeoff page. All right, so what do we got here? I'm going to go back and do the air thing to beat that into us, right? Air. Have at least 25%. Look, see, I went down from 33 to 30. That's good. And we've got go back to engine here on the system display control panel. You're at least 15, and you've got oil pressure rise. Bring the fuel lever up. You'll be looking for 2, 4, 6, 8. What if you saw 30%? You're either stuck in approach idle, which is when you put the slats out, or in the air, or your throttle is not at idle, which is the most common case.
Bypass pin removed. Lift is clear. Right is clear.
45% start valve is closed. Okay, 2, 4, 6, and 8 the oil. 8 the oil and 1200. Looks good. Start number 2. I had an engine fire on this sail. They had done bleed work, and we had an engine fire on taxi out at Kennedy, 1995, ground evac. So now we have good oil pressure. Make sure we had the air. Yep, it's above 25. There we are above. We have good oil pressure, and we are above 15. Bring the fuel lever up. You get 25 seconds to get ignition. We're looking for 45%. Looks like they already went away, huh? Have I been taking that long? I guess so. There's 45s. Light goes out. Start valve's closed. We'll look for 2, 4, 6, 8. While I'm doing that, flaps, I have a salute. 2 clicks brings us down to dial flap setting. Yeah, they definitely are gone. I guess I missed the salute. We would have cycled the taxi light at them. I'll just leave it on now, since we're going to be going here in a second. And then we go to the config page. Move the rudders. Captain holds onto nose wheel steering. Gets full deflection on the rudders as indicated by the green. FO does the elevators. Usually asks if the knees are clear. We'll be pulling it back. Knees, bellies, and yeah. And then the tops, they call them because it's spoilers. and ailerons. And bottoms are clear, and that's it. If you go to the overhead, APU bleed, if you turn that off, it'll shut down in a minute and a half after cool down. 1 minute after cool down. Call for taxi, taxi lights on. Let's do the after start checklist. Clear for takeoff, we didn't do that. The after start, engine ice, nope, because we're above 10. APU, no visible moisture. Flaps, config page, flight controls, stab trim. There's something that's bothering me in the stab trim here, guys. See how it says 10? That's awful high. Awful high. But it's usually somewhere around 4 or 5. But we're at 10. That's good enough. So you make sure that matches up. Right about in there. That's pretty aft stab trim. So I'm not sure my load is quite right. If I actually saw that, I'd probably come down here and double check the zero fuel weight. 356.9. Zero fuel weight 356.9. Yep, fuel on board 31.9. 31.9. Yeah, I don't know. Before I go off the config page, we check the tire pressures, brake temperatures, flap slats, and trim. Everything on there. With that's out of the way, we go to back to the engine page. And we call for taxi, and he clears the taxi. Taxi light is on, parking brake is off, and here we go. You can see the parking brake's off down here too on the EAD. All right, this note, the checklist that we use, you'll see some MD-11s with no checklist. We use this one before takeoff. GCP, so glare shield control pen, we double check that. Anti-ice, stab trim, spoilers and brakes, flaps and slats. Call for 15, gauge 15, set for takeoff. Zero fuel weight's updated. EAD is checked for numbers. Flight attendants prepare for takeoff is the PA you would make 2 minutes prior, no later. Lights for lineup and wait. You put the taxi lights on, the turn off lights on, and then the rest of it on when you clear for takeoff. Those are before takeoff items. They're on my checklist if you need them. I think this thing taxis great. Like I said, I have 2 other public videos out there. Hey, look at that, P51, P38 over there. That goes through everything, and that's kind of how I do it. Like I said, I'm going to recommend Mustafa. He's the guy, he actually hosted the Flight Expo, one of the guys who hosted it. Man, is he productive. He does trucks and church and airplanes, and he one hard worker, and his tutorial series on the Mad Dog was phenomenal. I had flown the Mad Dog, but after I went through with him, I think I knew it better then than I did when I went through the training. But he's doing the same thing. He's done the same thing on this. I'm real proud of him. I consider him a friend now. He's very supportive of me, and I'm obviously very supportive of him, and mostly just because I'm impressed with him. No charity there. Right here is where your nose wheel is, where that speed tape is. It's where your nose wheel, if you want to know. That's on the Boeings, it's like that too. I'm not sure about the Airbuses. I think the Airbuses might be the inside of the PFT, but as I recall. I haven't flown the Airbus much on here. I checked myself out on the A320 a couple of times for fun, but I tend not to get involved with it right now. All right, we're clear for takeoff. We're clear to position and hold. Flight attendants prepare for takeoff. And we're there chimed. I'm going to turn some, and we'll say we're clear for takeoff. Lights are on. Strobes are on. Ignition's on. We cycle the, let them know we're rolling. Checklist, clear for takeoff. Intensity lights are on. Auto flight press will do all that. Positive. All right, that's all good. I'll show you. I'll talk to you about that when we get out there. So let me talk to you about something. So we're going to go, I don't like the way that this FMS is looking, guys. I'm going to have to set something up here. Do not arm, I would not arm the auto flight until you're on the runway. American didn't, because if you ever went above 70%, which is how you get toga power, auto flight armed, and above 70, it'll go toga on you, and then it is a wild stallion. The only way to get out of it is to go AFS override. I would not do that if I were you. I definitely don't like the way this FMS is looking, guys, so I'm gonna fix something here. All right, let's see how we're looking. All right, we're lined up. Let me straighten out the box real quick. You see that ATSAT straight ahead. Not sure what it thinks it's doing there. Let's go to the box. Here we go. Let's go direct. ATSAT. Execute. Next we tell tower if we're doing this. Anytime I stop the airplane, I park the brakes, by the way. Brakes park. So I'm going to go nav. You watch the PFD when I do this. Nav's armed. I'm going to go auto flight arm. Watch the takeoff clamp box go away. Auto flight, that's armed. And I'm going to arm profile. What's it going to do? It's going to maintain V2 until the cleanup altitude, which is in the takeoff page, which is the second one. It's 1630 something. And then it'll start accelerating in profile up until 220, because that's what we got to maintain till 6,000, 13,000 to transition. We're clear for takeoff. Everything is good. Let's go to Queenstown and fly that frightening approach. So with pre-flight armed, I bring this up to 70, which is kind of a vertical. Oops, spoilers are there. It is green box down there. So it gets above 70. I'm not touching the throttles. It's kicking in to 99.3. Thrust is set. Keep that speed tape on the horizon, on the center line, and we're above 80 knots. We're going to take off clamp. V1 rotate 2 to 3 degrees per second. It's going to be, we're lightweight, so we're going to be up near 20 to 25 degrees of pitch. Once you see a positive rate on the altitude indicator, gear up. Above 400 feet, we can go nav. You can see that it's maintaining V2 until 1500. Now it's going to go to climb power. There it is, climb thrust. Lower the nose.
Stabilizer motion.
Push it over, lower the nose. We're above flap speed, flaps up.
Stabilizer motion. Stabilizer motion.
Get above slat retract. You don't really have to be above it. The trend can be real close. Slats retract. And we call for checklist, which is going to be spoilers disarm, brakes, and you can see the slats are transiting. And we should be maintaining 220 until 6. There's 220 and level change until 6,000, and then we'll get back into profile. So gears up, flaps up, we're in nav. Auto flight's coming on. Gears, brakes disarm. Spoilers are disarm. And off we go. And there's 6,000. We go to profile. FMS speed. And now we should have all pink. All pink means it's being controlled by the box. All white, anything white is being controlled by the flight control panel. And green is glide slope and localizer when you're on the established on glide slope, as well as dual land, and blue is autopilot. Those are the things. So pink means all the box. And off we go on our way to Queenstown for a very challenging arrival. So the most challenging thing we did today was get the weather to stay, and that was as a result of the thing. So here we are coming up on 10, a result of the active sky. Thank God I figured that out. It's leveling at 10. I'm going to clear us on up. I did not want to do that, did it? Level at 10. Go up to 34. And it's 10,000 AFL, guys. AFL, which is right about there. And which time we can go to the overhead. I know this is stream of consciousness, I know. Lights are out. And we can chime them. All good. And you can see we're accelerating. Let's do the checklist. After takeoff, spoilers, gear, flaps, auto brake, EAD, 10,000 stereo landing lights, Barrel knob set the standard at when we pass 13, we'll go standard. Now normally to go standard in this airplane, you push this button. There it is. But it says pull, but you actually push it on this one. All right, coming up out of 13, right there. Let's go standard,
Stabilizer motion.
and we're good. All right. I think we're going to stop the climb. Let's take a look at the star going in there. Star. LRUV 3 Alpha to LRUV. Go to the box. Add sat. LRUV ECVOX. Looking for the first restrictions. There is holding at ECVOX. I guess we should practice some holding. But there's no altitude restrictions. Our first altitude restrictions is CASLU between 17 and 16. And that's how it's depicted here. MABGA above 13. ALBUC above 12. AVSR, nothing. Ibaku between 12 and 11. What's this one? Ababu between 12 and 11. I don't know about that one. Let me take a look at the approach. Zulu to 5. Doesn't really have anything there, does it? Queenstown's above 2, just leave it in there. 10. Sarda at 9,200. TPIG at 8,200. I'm working hard. Panto at 71. Zubeg at 63. More Bapka at 55. Amubu at 31. Now we're down here. Ambu at 31, that's the FAF. And you can see that what happens is it comes out, then it curves around. If you gotta go miss approach, you stay in the valley and fly that. That'll be going in here. But we need to look at the minimums on here. And the minimums are 2,300 on the approach. Well, we put in 2137 or something, 2237. That's fine. All good. And this approach is climbed to 10,000 via the RNP this approach track to NV and hold. Right here. That's it. Short runway. After landing. I'm really doing this because this is why I went through all this, just to do the approach to see how it does. We're landing on 5. You can see it's a standard width runway, but we're 5,000 feet. So we'll go max on the brakes. Lord help our brake temperatures, right? Spoilers will be armed. Do not float. We'll go all the way back down and have to do a 180 on the runway. Our minimum runway turn radius is 148, and that's what this is. It's gonna be a tight turn. We're gonna have to be heating up the brakes on that as well. Then come all the way back down, left-hand turn off at probably Alpha 3 and park in here. Take a look at Queenstown Airport, which I have the package for that too. I think we'll stop the climb. We'll take it up. Looks like the top of climb is right here, 34, and then we're supposed to start our descent shortly thereafter, like 20 miles after. That's not uncommon on these short legs to have that parabolic thing. The reason that this says altitude right there is because one of them is not matching this one. me set it manually. I don't know why that isn't matching. And how about this one? I got rid of it. Yeah, it said I have it set so it's sequenced, but it didn't sequence. Transition level here. We go to weather, ATIS, nothing. METAR. Queenstown 1021 is going to be the altimeter. Transition level on the descent is, I think it's assigned by ATC, but it's 1,000 above transition altitude almost always, and transition altitude is 13. Oh, transition level is 15 right there. So instead of 18, 15, we'll have to go to 10. We'll have to go to our local altimeter, which I said was 1021. The winds are 020 at 4, which is a headwind. Broken at 2,000, broken at 4,000. Yeah, it's quite the arrival. Pretty cool. Here we are. Motoring on in. Let's go outside, take a look around, right? Let's do our cruise check first before we go having any fun. Cruise check. Check FMA, all pink, controlling airspeed, pitch and roll. Yep, we talked about that. White is F flight control panels. Green is auto land, not chase for localized, so do land. Breathe to star, approach and taxi. Check against the FMS profile speed for cruise and descent. We'll check that. But now we got to go for the scary part. Well, let's start here. Let's go to the box, and we'll say our landing weight's going to be 377. Yikes. See how this works. 33 for 34. And I'm going to go ahead and assume we're clear for the approach. When we level, I'll set in all the way in the bottom. All right, so 375 is going to be our landing weight. We'll say that. So perf, Queenstown, dry, weather, landing weight 374. You got to put in 6 digits. 374.
Altitude.
Auto brakes. We'll go max. Flaps 50. Reverses all. Survey said. It says we're going to land at 3,700 feet. So, and we have 5,200 available. So we should be able to do it. We shall see about that, right? All right. Now right in here, there is a. Let's say they tell us to send and maintain flight level 250 because I got to get ready for holding, guys. So I'll put in 250 here.
Altitude.
I'm gonna start us on down. And we'll go all the way down to 23. All right, we're in idle power descent, flying FMS speed. We're gonna go down to 23. I'm gonna put a nit in here. I'm gonna put 230 in. I'm trying to set us up to do a little holding action. And let's say they tell us to, I'll let it get slow. It doesn't matter. We're gonna, I think it's Ekvox was the holding. So the approach, that star, LRUF 4 Alpha, Ekvox, left-hand turns, inbound is 216. So go to Ekvox. Vertical revision. I'm trying to think if we should be down lower. 2022, yeah, we should really be down around 17 for that. If we're going to do play around with the holding here. go to here. Top of descent, menu, flight plan, ECVOX, hold, lateral revision, hold, and we said the inbound at ECVOX is 216 left turns, max 230. So left turns, inbound is 216, and speed will be holding is at 230. I'm going to insert that there, and they would give us an EFC probably in there as well. There's our holding pattern. We just have to make sure we're at a max of 230 when we hold there. Haven't done holding in this for you guys yet, so I figured I'd do that. Let me see something. I used to have something I could talk to. Oh yeah, let's talk about this. You'll like this. It's holding basics MD-11. These are the speeds in the US and ICAO. 1 minute above 14, 1.5 above, below 14, above for ICAO. These are USI times. Here's the entry procedures. Hold at database hold. This is your what each of these mean. I'll have this posted on my website as well. So let's see. Trip fuel, limit fuel. It doesn't have a limit ETA right now, so let's say we want to be on final with 12. It's not letting me do it. Yeah, okay, so that's not model. I need to talk to them about that. Start filling out some of these other ones. So that's the incorrect holding course. I messed that one up. Let's do this, and left. It's an imperfect. I'm an imperfect man. Yeah, we got 2 holding patterns on there now. Who's better than me? Everyone. ECVOX holding. I think I'll delete this one. That's better. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I'll get the lights on while I'm thinking about it. Make a PA the people, tell them we'll be holding. Should have had the seatbelt sign off while we did this. Remember, 15 is our transition altitude. This fix right after here is at or above 17. So that at or above 16. So 17 is a good holding altitude. Alright, so we're going to be at 230 when we enter hold. Right now we're at 330. So I'll start taking this over manually. The way you do it, remember, is you come up here. There we go. Go at airspeed. Now the truth is, if I was going to be holding, I probably would have slowed down, asked them the permission to slow down early. I mean, 5 minutes out you can do it to be stable at your holding speed by 3 minutes out. But, and the reason is, no sense holding if you can do it going straight ahead. So if there's no one else out here, a lot of times they'll let you slow it on down. I'm going to request permission right here. It looks like at about, I'll see if we can hold at 270. Max holding speed supposedly is 230. Yeah, you might as well slow it down. You burn it going straight and level instead of sitting there burning holes in the sky. Hurrying up, getting there as fast as you can. If you got an EFC, sometimes they'll let you just slow it up en route. It's usually what we try to do. Let's take a look at our holding, how much we're going to be able to hold with. Remember, we had about 15 and a half to get back to Queenstown. We got 24. And if you go to our flight plan, from Ekvox to Queenstown. This is our segment burn. Ekvox to Queenstown is 12.3, Ekvox 11.1, just 2,000 pounds. 2,000 pounds, and we're going to get to Ekvox with 23.5, so that's 23.5 plus 2,000 minus 2,000 is 21,000, 15.7. We got about 5,000 pounds of to hold with, about 40 minutes to hold with, I would guess. Maybe like more like about 20 minutes to hold with. I'm sorry, because we're going to be burning 15,000 pounds an hour. Yeah, more like 20 minutes. So we can do about 4 turns in holding before we have to divert back to Christchurch. You could put the speed in to hold at 230 in here, but I don't want to put the slats out. That'll save us a lot of fuel if we can just hold at 270. Let's say they said, hey, cancel the hold. That's good. Ekvox, there won't be an exit hold because we're not in the hold. So we could just go delete the hold here. And we're back on the arrival, and we don't have to hold. But otherwise, once you enter the hold, on a vertical revision, there'll be an exit hold prompt, which should turn you back onto the route. I know, guys, kind of a stream of consciousness thing here, but I'm having fun. Once again, this is a complicated approach. That's the arrival of 12. Then we got to go all the way in here. Fly this whole arcing approach through the mountains with a curving final to our 5,500 foot landing runway. Really. All right, let's say they just cleared us on the arrival and cleared us for the approach. We know that our bottom altitude is 3,100. Get us back into profile here. Except I'm going to keep the speed back. I think what I'll do is I'll descend at 270.
Altitude.
I shouldn't be doing that, guys. I think what I need to do, if I wanted to do that on the MD-11 here, is put in 17 or recalculate the top there. How's that? Get back down to 17. And we'll mess with the whole thing. We'll go perf and cruise. Let's do it at 260. Actually make it 250. That's good. And 17. And now when it levels,
Altitude.
we should be able to go profile, and there it is. So now we get all pink, and we'll descend at that will be our speed to start off the arrival at. All right, Castle above 16, and then it's going to be high on all these things because it's all at or above. There's a couple that are block altitudes. Star, LRUV, Kazlu's below 17, above 16, so that's no problem. And Ababu is between 12 and 10, so that's why a 10 is in at Ababu. It's funky indication on the You don't get that at or below, at above. You just get the above, and it knows the top altitude, theoretically. Yeah, so you see what I did there? I went to a knit. When I hit profile, like the Boeing's more sophisticated, no, it'll intercept from down there because I didn't have a higher altitude in the window. This one makes sure that your cruise altitude is where you're at, or else it'll try climbing up to join the profile. That's not what it should do, because it should never violate this altitude in profile. Like right now, theoretically, we should be able to put in the bottom altitude of 3,100 feet. Right there, and it says 31. And it's not going to do anything till it's on it. Now, in the Boeings and the Airbuses, you'll get the vertical track indicator, vertical deviation indicator coming down. And this one, in the real airplane, you'll get a flashing profile warning letting you know it's coming. But really, it's the VTI. When it gets right on, it'll appear all of a sudden. So you just kind of have to trust that if you're in pink and you have it set up correctly, it'll start down. Now, I got to tell you, the TFDi MD-11 is not unlike the real MD-11. It was not this generation's vertical nav. A300-600 wasn't great either. Really wasn't. Alright, so we did the descent check, and that's it. Be a flaps 50 landing. We'll arm the spoilers, max auto brakes, not float, put it on down, back taxi to the gate, shut it down, and call it a lesson. What are we at in the film here? We're about 132. It will be just under 2 hours, but what are we going to cover? We're going to cover some of the considerations. Remember, 15,000 is our transition level. Remember, levels descending, altitude is climbing. Think of an A for altitude, it's climbing, and levels descending. You usually get it off ATIS. In the case of New Zealand, they publish it right on the approach chart, sort of like the US with 18,000, flight level 180. Transition altitude, transition level. Missed approach, climb to 10,000, RNP track. Got to cross at or above 6, so we'll go VNAV. We have to do that. Going around, flaps 15, positive brake gear up to set missed approach altitude, which we'll set up around 10. And we'll go nav at 400 feet, 1,000 above the ground, we'll go VNAV. Now, if anything on these descents, I would be a little slow. If we were going to runway 23, by the way, we would come in here, and the descent would take us up in there and into the runway. But we're not. We're doing runway 5, so we're going to come up here, come down in this valley, and little looping right turn to land. It's exciting. Yeah, I've done this a couple of times in different airplanes. It's challenging. You got to be ready to go around if you get unstable. Had a tough time with it in the I got sorry any builds. A300-600. I couldn't get it to work right. Same thing with the Mad Dog. Naturally, Horizon did okay. The 787-9. I'm sure the PMDG 777 does it well. PMDG does these things really well. I'm thinking, and I've done it in this thing when I was doing the beta mode videos for the training group. It did a nice job on it, generally. I did notice, though, that you better not be fast. So I'm going to get this thing slowed down to probably 250. Pull on it. There it is. You can come into perf if you want and put in 250 like I had it there. Now see, this should be when if you put 250 in the descent and cruise, let's go cruise, cruise 250. Your ping should be down here. You should be able to go FMS speed on it. But if I press this right now, it's going to accelerate to 300. But you definitely do not want to be coming in here at 300. It's actually very steep as you roll it in this area. And if you get a burning speed, you are unstable. I do an FSiPanel profile in here with the weather and minimums, and it's a handful. It's pretty though. Let's go outside, take a look. We're going to start down here in just a minute. Better not go outside just yet. Let's take a look at that. Now normally 5 seconds prior to descent you get a flashing profile up here, but you're going to see that we're right on top of it, right about in there. It just shows up and away it goes. Now like any sim, you want to make sure that you're on top of the throttles and make sure that they're going to do what they're supposed to do. It's just hanging out here. It thinks it's fine because they're at or aboves. So it's not doing anything. It's got the next one, even though I have, it's profiling to 10 now with the next fix that it's looking at of 9200. There's 10, there's 9200. It's turning, got Avenger. We'll see when it decides to go. This makes you nervous, I bet. Should be starting down shortly. Beautiful job, guys. Proud of you. And we're out of here, and here comes 15, and we said it was 1021, I believe. And it's not setting, so 1021. We're not sharing. May I help you over here, my friend? 1021. Got the minimum set in the box. It's 2300. So we can set that on the barrow. See, it says barrow. This ought to be a trip. Let me see if I can get my hyper scroll working here. I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to spend all the time putting 2300. It's in the box anyway, close enough. It's having trouble keeping the speed, so I'm going to go a little speed brake, help it out a little. Even though it's not asking me for more drag. So we're on the VTI vertical. Well, it's vertical deviation indicator, but I'm manually controlling the speed. It's at or above 10 here. Next one is at or above 10 as well. No speed restrictions. Altimeter is set. Flight attendants prepare for landing because we're below 10,000 feet above the ground. Lights are on. Descent checks complete. Don't believe me? So we got a checklist. Descent check is complete. And we chime them out of 10. And it's 10,000 feet above the ground, not 10,000 feet. I'm just going to bring this heading bug all the way around the runway heading. of 050 or so. It's doing a nice job. Might be getting a little behind on the VTI. I'm gonna give it a little speed brake, help it out here. Heading bugs in there in preparation. Got our FAF altitude set. Truth is, if they cleared us down to minimums, right? We could set this all the way down to 2300, which we did. And theoretically, it's going to meet all the altitude restrictions, go right down to minimums for us. Now, I wouldn't be in a hurry here. I think I'd slow it on down, especially for this big turn. Give it a fighting chance. Go down to 210, 200. Speed below 280, slots extend. And I'm going to go pull on this. There you go. How pretty, guys. There we are at 200. Speed below 255, flaps 15. There it is, coming in nicely. It's getting a little high on the vertical track indicator, but it's doing good. There it goes. This little swirling around we're going to do here. I'm going to bring it all the way down to 180. And go up in here and down in that area. You can see we're not very far above the mountains. Alright, it's at or above 7,100 right there. VTI is showing that we're a little high, but we're not. You can see that we're about 15 miles from the field, 180 knots, so we're looking good. But I wouldn't hesitate to get configured early. There's a lot of juking around that's going to take place in here.
Stabilizer motion.
And it is saying now it wants to be above 63. There it is right there. Should level. And there it is. It's holding at 63. Bring the speed back to 160. I'm going to go gear down. And I'll go flaps 28. We can arm the spoilers. Spoilers are armed. Auto brakes are max. Alright, next is speed below 190, flaps 35. May seem early, but you gotta be really stable early on this approach, especially in the weather. Flaps 50 is what we should have had on there. And we're looking for 144. Alright, so we're going to come up and do a looping right-hand turn around for the landing here. Alright, like that. Pretty nice job, huh? And now it wants to cross a mumbo at 3,100 feet. And we want to be nice and stable there. As we mentioned, speed will be 144. And speed below 175, flaps 50. Before landing checklist. 144. And when you're inside the FAF, you could put 10,000 in the window and everything, but we're just going to leave 2,300. Okay, it should be leveling at 31. There it is, right there on the PFD 31. Make sure. Come on, baby. Don't let me down. Don't let me down now. There's 31. And 31 to Bumbo, then go down to 2,300 is our decision altitude on the RNAV. It's pretty much holding the speed.
Stabilizer motion.
I'll probably do autopilot off when the time comes, guys. Which will be, and flight director off down here. Runway's up and this way. So it's going to come up, do a big left-hand turn to a right-hand turn in here. Great job. Big release day, maybe. Like I said, they don't tell me anything. That'll be the last peak we get outside. All right, there it is, going down to 2,300. And I'm going to bring this all the way down and let it fly down below because we are VFR. I expect it to start a left-hand turn up here and maneuver around. There's the altitude right there. See, there we go. Sure is liking holding just right at the foot there, isn't it? There it is, going back down again. There's the runway. There. Alright, autopilot's coming off. And I'm going to put the flight director off.
1,000.
And transition to land. Let's bring the nose up a little. Bring it around. Try to get a nice landing here on this short runway. Red over white, looks good. Red over white's alright. Looking for about 700 feet per minute on the sink. About 2.5 to 3 degrees nose high on the pitch. Getting a tiny bit high. Do not want to get high on this runway, but we don't want to also get a sink rate.
500.
A little bit of a right cross. Kind of feel it.
400. Stabilizer motion. 200. 100.
Sync rate.
50. 40. 20. 10.
I know, with frames dropped off there, I know, guys. I have a pretty big Queenstown package. That didn't sound right, did it, guys? That didn't sound right. This channel is for the whole family. All right, 60 knots. Out of reverse. This taxiway over here to our right is not usable. by a big airplane. So it's going to be an interesting turnaround here. You can see out there, guys, if you had to do a missed approach, it's a big figure 8 if you ever do any work here at Queenstown. See if we can get this done here. I'm going to use the number 3 engine, inside brake. See how we did. We'll see. Talk about heating the brake up, right? Like I said, I don't think we'd be coming in here. Let's stay on the taxiway, just to say we did. Not the best demonstration of a turnaround I've ever done. But this airplane's not going out for the night, is it? I probably could have got a little more off to the right there before I started this. Don't even want to think about what the brake temp is right now. Don't even want to think about it. Alright, flaps up after landing, please. So we're going to go... Normally we'd leave the lights on, but let's say there's nobody here. We'd leave the lights on because we don't want to get run over while we're out here, right? We'll start the APU. Oh, whoa. Get off my runway. The throttles do not want to disconnect. They keep going up on me here. Let me try doing auto flight system disarm. See if I can get the throttles to come back here. They keep coming to toga on me. So if that didn't heat the brakes up, now it will for sure, right? Why don't we try... Tell you what, let's do this. Yeah, just try taxi on number 2. I think we should park, let's see here. Off to the right. Alright, flaps are up. Brakes are... Speed brakes up. Brakes parked. Taxiing on 2. On number 2. You guys ever had that happen before? I certainly have. Alright, we'll just park in here, guys. Because that's interesting. You know what the problem is? Here's a systems lesson, guys. Go manual. Manual, pumps on, let's go aux pump on, let's try it, here we go. Don't try this at home. I think we'll just park over here. Yeah. Not a lot of room at Queenstown today. Lordy, lordy. Brakes apart. Always an adventure with Father Time. Alright, brakes are parked. Seatbelt sign is off. I'm not making any apologies. Because you know what? That was fun. Seatbelt sign is off. APU's established. You can chop them. You can put on the air. You can GSX this bad boy. Let these poor... Oh, runway 5 doesn't even know where I am. That's okay. And we'll just go to the overhead. Checklist. Turn off the RUs. Go back to manual, go back there, turn off the exhaust pump, turn off the window heat, fuel pumps are all off, lights are off, intensity's off, well that was off, beacon's off, so you get back three lights out, one light on, turn the lighting down. Yeah. Let me see here. This one down. If I had to do it over again, I just would have shut down the 1 and 2, left 3 on so I had the normal brakes, and turn off all the monitors, which we'll do here, and call it a career. Shutdown checklist. Brake set, seatbelt signs off, external power. Yeah, let's get that on. Why not, right? Services. Put the GPU on. Wheel chocks are in. You can release the brakes. Keep them a little cooler. And that's about all you can do there. You were unable to do the deboarding here. Probably because it's such a beautiful landing. Okay. Should I publish it? You know, we're all just human, right? Weather radar is off, by the way. Stable chart. If you cargo temps off, engine ignition, emergency light switch. So I got to do the overhead. 2 more things. I've got to do cargo temps are off, and disarm. Let's say people are off the airplane. Evac switch is off. Emergency lights are off. Turn down the monitors and let's get outside. Let's take a look at the airport. After that, you guys deserve it. Deserve a tour. It's Queenstown. Beautiful Queenstown. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of places to park here. There we are. Probably have to answer for that one, right? Short runway. Go in. Let's see who flies here. Ticket counter. Air New Zealand or Air Australia, Qantas, Jetstar. You know what? I left my car here. Just go out. It's a red van. Red van. You guys see it anywhere? There it is. All right, guys. Let me stop getting out of here. I need a beer. All right, guys. Father Time's out. Hope you enjoyed that. Cold Dark. All right, if I had to do it over again, could have parked right over here. But hey, that wouldn't have been as big of an adventure, right? So there it is, TFDi MD-11, what's left of it. Father Time's out. Sorry about any mistakes, but that's the fun part about flight sim. All right? No big deal. Guys, take care. Thanks a lot. Today's an exciting day. Hopefully it got released.